Hello, everyone. I'm back with a brand new drama full of mystery, romance, and supernatural twists. This story is about vampires, hidden identities, and a curse that can only be broken by true love. So make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's dive into this thrilling tale. The female lead, Susie, is a poor and broken-hearted girl. She is drunk, depressed, and frustrated with her life. At 28 years old, she is unemployed, has recently gone through a heartbreak, and has even lost her house. Feeling completely hopeless, she cries to God, saying that her life is ruined and that she has nothing left. Suddenly, she sees a strange light coming down from the sky. Frightened, she thinks God has come to take her life. In panic, she slips and starts falling, but the male lead, Sean, appears and saves her in time. Susie is shocked that she is still alive. Looking at Sean and his black clothes, she mistakes him for an angel of death. Even in her drunk state, she can't help noticing how handsome he is. When Sean lets go of her, she falls again and feels pain, which makes her realize that she is not dead. She immediately starts pleading with the angel, promising that she will stop doing stupid things, find a new job, become a better person, find true love, and get her house back. She begs him not to take her life. Sean observes her silently and thinks about her strange personality. To him, she seems noisy, greedy for life, cowardly, and unpredictable. He finds it unbelievable that a girl like her could be chosen as his destined bride. In a flashback, it is revealed that Sean is actually a god. While protecting humans, he once fought a monster and was cursed. The curse makes his face change every 7 days, and one day it will take his life. The only way to break this curse is to be loved sincerely by God's chosen bride. Sean mocks the monster, asking who would ever love someone whose face keeps changing. The monster challenges him, but Sean refuses to make any evil deal and uses his powers to fight it. The beast retreats, warning that Sean's power is slowly weakening. Later, his assistant tells him that he must find his destined bride and make her truly love him, because his existence is important for the world. Only then can the curse be broken and his life saved. Back in the present, Susie is still begging him not to take her life. Sean calmly tells her that God does not kill people. Hearing this, Susie bursts at laughter and mocks him, saying that anyone could pretend to be God late at night. To prove himself, Sean shows his power, making flowers suddenly bloom and fall from a tree. Susie is stunned and even pinches her cheeks to check if this is real. Still confused by his presence, she asks him jokingly if God has a wife. Suddenly, she slips and crashes into Sean, accidentally kissing him. Shocked by this, Sean angrily grabs her by the throat, while Susie hurriedly explains that she did not do it on purpose. Susie vents her anger at Sean, saying that he is a god who will live forever, while she is just a human who will live only a few years. She feels foolish for being attracted to him, and in frustration says she will make his life miserable. At that moment, Sean's curse suddenly attacks him. He loosens his grip on her throat, and Susie finally breathes in relief. Embarrassed, she scolds herself for accidentally kissing his neck and calls him an old-fashioned and strange man. She even wishes that he would never find a bride. Suddenly, Sean's curse activates again, and his face begins to change rapidly. Terrified by the different faces, Susie screams and faints. Sean takes her back to the house and convinces himself that the bride of God could never be a girl like Susie. He believes his destined bride must be someone else, and leaves. The next morning, Susie packs her luggage and decides to leave the house. She recalls the strange events of the previous night and feels that something is wrong about that mysterious God. Without thinking too much about it, she decides to leave immediately. Just as Susie is about to step out, the new landlord arrives with Sean's assistant. The assistant recognizes Susie as the same strange, loud, and unpredictable girl his lord had mentioned. Susie is surprised and asks about the house, and the assistant explains that his master liked it so much that he bought it at 3 times the price. Hearing this, Susie is shocked and regrets leaving so quickly, thinking that if she had waited, she might have met such a good landlord earlier. The assistant then offers Susie a place to stay. Since he and his master are new, they need someone to help manage the house, and he tells her she can live there for free without paying rent. Susie is delighted and agrees to wait to meet the master before making her final decision. Just then, the door opens and Sean walks in. Susie freezes when she sees him again and feels extremely unlucky to meet the strange god once more. Panicking, she makes an excuse about having urgent work and quickly leaves with her bag, thinking that good luck never comes to her. After she leaves, the assistant tells Sean that Susie is actually his destined bride. Sean refuses to accept it and says that a girl with such a personality could never be his bride. He tells the assistant to keep searching for someone else. On the way, Susie calls her friend and asks if she can stay at her place for a few days. Her friend agrees, but says she is leaving for a business trip and will send her house keys through her boyfriend. Susie thanks her and waits for him. When the boyfriend arrives, Susie greets him politely and thanks him for bringing the keys. However, he misunderstands the situation and assumes Susie had called him late at night for inappropriate reasons. He moves closer to her, and Susie immediately slaps him. The man becomes angry and tries to harass her. Frightened, Susie screams for help. Meanwhile, Shan's assistant tells him that his true form is changing faster and that he has very little time left. Suddenly, Shan disappears. The assistant realizes that the bride of God must be in danger and that Shan has gone to her. Shan arrives in time, pushes the man away from Susie, and saves her. He remembers that the last time Susie cried for help, he reached her, and the same thing happened again. Realizing this pattern, Shan finally understands that Susie is truly his destined bride. Susie breaks down in front of Shan, saying that nothing but bad luck has happened to her. She lost her job, suffered a heartbreak, lost her house, and now someone even tried to harass her. Feeling completely unlucky, she starts crying. Shan calmly asks her if she is done crying. Annoyed by his cold attitude, Susie complains that he doesn't even know how to comfort people. Seeing the flower in his hand, she asks him to give it to her so she can feel a little better. Shan gives her the flowers, and Susie becomes genuinely happy. It is the first time in her life that someone has given her flowers. She starts thinking that although he is strange, he is kind-hearted and handsome for saving her. Suddenly, Shan disappears. Susie feels disappointed that she did not even get his phone number. As she leaves, she angrily kicks the man who tried to harass her and warns him that he is only safe because of her friend. Then she walks away. Later, Susie sits outside, thinking about how all her money was spent on her mother's medical treatment. She is left with only a few coins, barely enough for 2 meals a day. With nowhere to go, she decides that for now, the sky will be her roof. Just then, Shan appears again in his true form. Susie is shocked to see him and asks what he wants now. Shan offers her a deal. She can come and live in his house, rent-free, but on one condition: she must love him. Susie finds this ridiculous and says that she is human while he is a god, and they are not even the same species. Shan promises that if she agrees, she will be able to live comfortably without paying rent. Left with no other choice, Susie agrees and dramatically praises him, pretending to love him even though she does not mean it from her heart. Shan then lays down some rules for living in his house. She must not tell anyone his secret, must not be noisy in his bedroom, and must develop feelings for him. Susie agrees on the surface, but secretly plans to take advantage of the situation, save some money, and run away later. The next morning, Susie prepares breakfast. Shan and his assistant arrive. The assistant jokingly offers to help make Susie fall in love with Shan faster, but Shan refuses, confident that she will not be able to escape him anyway. Susie excitedly invites Shan to eat, and although he claims he does not eat human food, he still tastes what she made. She nervously watches him, hoping he likes it. Shan finishes the food, but bluntly says it tastes terrible. Offended, Susie complains about how stubborn and rude he is. When Shan suddenly steps closer, she gets flustered and accidentally spills food on him. As she tries to clean it, she blushes after touching his muscles. Shan goes to take a shower, and Susie says she will prepare his clothes. While showering, Shan hears Susie talking on the phone, planning to pretend to be blind to get money from someone. Annoyed by her voice, he suddenly feels the pain of his curse again. At that moment, Susie comes to give him his clothes and is shocked to see him showering. Embarrassed, she quickly covers her eyes. Shan angrily tells her to leave and put the clothes outside. She does so and then tells him she's going out for some work. After the shower, Shan looks at himself in the mirror and realizes that this time his new face looks very similar to his real face, with only a slight change. He finds this strange and interesting, sensing that something about Susie might be affecting his curse. On the other hand, Susie goes out to pretend to be blind in order to earn money. The man she meets claims that after marriage, he will soon have a son and that everything in his house will be named after him. Susie gets scared by his words and tries to avoid him. She tells him that she is extremely unlucky and that anyone who marries her will become even unluckier. Hearing this, the man gets angry and complains that he wasted his time and money on her. Susie claps back loudly and creates a scene to escape. The man becomes furious and starts insulting her. Just then, Shan arrives at the cafe. Susie is stunned the moment she sees him and keeps staring, thinking how handsome he looks. Shan uses his powers to block the man so he cannot move, as the man continues shouting at Susie. When the man tries to throw something at Shan, Shan kicks him away and makes him fall. Watching this, Susie becomes even more impressed and thinks that Shan is exactly her ideal type. She greets him happily and pretends to be weak and helpless, saying she can't even open a bottle. Shan calmly points out that he just saw her beating that man. Embarrassed, she asks him to pretend he saw nothing. Susie calls Shan handsome and praises his eyes. Shan, however, feels annoyed and confused. On one hand, Susie promised to love him when she thought he was God, but now she is flirting with another man. Hurt by this, Shan leaves without giving her his number. Susie watches him go and feels that he looks familiar, almost like that strange God, but quickly brushes the thought away. Realizing she missed her chance again, she decides not to let this opportunity slip if she ever sees him again. Later, Shan returns to his true form. His assistant tells him that earlier he was worried Susie would be scared of his changing face, but nothing like that happened. The assistant urges him to hurry and make Susie fall in love with him faster to break the curse. Shan says it feels harder to make that human girl love him than to defeat the beast. Still, he asks his assistant if there's any way to make her fall in love with him quickly. She nervously watches him, hoping he likes it. Shan finishes the food, but bluntly says it tastes terrible. Offended, Susie complains about how stubborn and rude he is. When Shan suddenly steps closer, she gets flustered and accidentally spills food on him. As she tries to clean it, she blushes after touching his muscles. Shan goes to take a shower, and Susie says she will prepare his clothes. While showering, Shan hears Susie talking on the phone, planning to pretend to be blind to get money from someone. Annoyed by her voice, he suddenly feels the pain of his curse again. At that moment, Susie comes to give him his clothes and is shocked to see him showering. Embarrassed, she quickly covers her eyes. Shan angrily tells her to leave and put the clothes outside. She does so and then tells him she's going out for some work. After the shower, Shan looks at himself in the mirror and realizes that this time his new face looks very similar to his real face, with only a slight change. He finds this strange and interesting, sensing that something about Susie might be affecting his curse. On the other hand, Susie goes out to pretend to be blind in order to earn money. The man she meets claims that after marriage, he will soon have a son and that everything in his house will be named after him. Susie gets scared by his words and tries to avoid him. She tells him that she is extremely unlucky and that anyone who marries her will become even unluckier. Hearing this, the man gets angry and complains that he wasted his time and money on her. Susie claps back loudly and creates a scene to escape. The man becomes furious and starts insulting her. Just then, Shan arrives at the cafe. Susie is stunned the moment she sees him and keeps staring, thinking how handsome he looks. Shan uses his powers to block the man so he cannot move, as the man continues shouting at Susie. When the man tries to throw something at Shan, Shan kicks him away and makes him fall. Watching this, Susie becomes even more impressed and thinks that Shan is exactly her ideal type. She greets him happily and pretends to be weak and helpless, saying she can't even open a bottle. Shan calmly points out that he just saw her beating that man. Embarrassed, she asks him to pretend he saw nothing. Susie calls Shan handsome and praises his eyes. Shan, however, feels annoyed and confused. On one hand, Susie promised to love him when she thought he was God, but now she is flirting with another man. Hurt by this, Shan leaves without giving her his number. Susie watches him go and feels that he looks familiar, almost like that strange God, but quickly brushes the thought away. Realizing she missed her chance again, she decides not to let this opportunity slip if she ever sees him again. Later, Shan returns to his true form. His assistant tells him that earlier he was worried Susie would be scared of his changing face, but nothing like that happened. The assistant urges him to hurry and make Susie fall in love with him faster to break the curse. Shan says it feels harder to make that human girl love him than to defeat the beast. Still, he asks his assistant if there's any way to make her fall in love with him quickly. That night, when Susie comes home, she is shocked to see the house decorated with candles, flowers, and music. Confused, she wonders who he is trying to impress. Shan invites her to a candlelight dinner. Suspicious, Susie refuses, joking that he might have poisoned the food. Offended, Shan puts out the candles. When Susie tries to fix the lights, she slips, and Shan quickly catches her. They fall together, accidentally ending up on top of each other. The assistant, who sees this, gets flustered and quickly leaves. Embarrassed, Susie apologizes, saying she did not kiss him on purpose. Shan coldly replies that he would have pushed her away if she had. Feeling awkward, Susie runs off to her room, saying they can work on feelings some other day. Later, Shan thinks about how Susie smiled at him in the cafe when he was in a different form, but gets scared when she sees his real face. The assistant excitedly tells Shan that humans often fall in love after accidental physical contact, and that Susie must have developed feelings for him. Annoyed, Shan sends the assistant away. As Shan passes by Susie's room, he overhears her talking to herself, saying that the devil guy is scary and that the cute curly-haired guy at the cafe was much better. Hearing this, Shan realizes that she liked him when he had a different face. He decides to use that same appearance again to make her fall in love with him and finally break the curse. Susie feels sad that she never met the handsome curly-haired guy again. Then Shan's assistant comes to the house and tells Susie that his distant nephew will be coming to stay with them. Soon after, Shan appears again in the same curly-haired look. Susie is overjoyed to see him and warmly welcomes him back. The assistant is pleased, believing that Shan's disguise will finally make Susie fall in love with him. Susie becomes suspicious and asks whether Shan's master knows about this guest staying in the house. The assistant reassures her that permission has already been taken. When Susie asks where the god is, they avoid answering and change the topic. Shan says he is hungry, and the assistant praises Susie's cooking. Happy to hear this, Susie rushes to the kitchen to prepare food. In the kitchen, Shan helps Susie, standing close to her. Susie feels shy and happy. When she accidentally hurts her hand while cutting vegetables, Shan quickly brings the first aid kit and treats her wound. Susie is surprised that he knows exactly where the kit is kept and notices that he looks exactly like that strange god. Still, she convinces herself that the god could never be this gentle and caring. Shan gently bandages her hand, and Susie can't stop smiling at him, thinking how handsome and kind he is. Shan tells her that he has not been able to forget her since they met at the cafe, and that it feels like fate brought them together again. Susie replies that although he is good-looking, she will only decide after truly getting to know him. Shan holds her hand and agrees. The next day, Susie is working at a convenience store when the same man she once pretended to be blind with shows up. He mocks her for scamming him before and now working for money. He tries to take items for free, and Susie tells him to pay. The man becomes angry, insults her, and even attacks her with a knife. Shan arrives in time, saves Susie, punches the man, and gets injured in the process. Susie immediately tends to Sean's wounded hand and insists on taking him to the hospital, but he refuses and asks her to take him home instead. At home, Susie treats his injury and Sean kneels in pain, resting his head near her feet. Touched by this, Susie becomes emotional and suggests that they start dating. Sean is overjoyed, thinking that he has finally fallen in love and that his curse will now be broken. However, when he looks in the mirror, he realizes the curse is still not broken because Susie loves his disguised version, not his true self. When Sean returns home, the assistant reminds him that the curse can only be broken if Susie falls in love with his true form. Realizing this, Sean feels hopeless, believing that Susie only has feelings for the handsome, curly-haired version of him. The assistant then suggests that Sean must make Susie hate that disguised version so that she will forget him and start liking Sean's real self instead. Just then, Susie comes to talk to Sean privately. She tells him that although she tried her best, she has fallen in love with the nephew, not with him. She apologizes and says she will leave the house soon. Sean stops her by holding her hand and asks her to try loving him instead. Susie refuses, saying she finally found love and cannot force her feelings. She promises to move out soon and leaves. Hurt and angry, Sean decides that if she only loves the disguised version of him, then he will make her hate that version so she can eventually fall for his true self. The next morning, Sean returns in his curly-haired disguise, wearing stylish clothes and singing a playful song to Susie. He deliberately behaves flamboyantly, thinking that Susie will get annoyed and start to dislike him. Susie compliments his outfit and asks about the strange smell coming from the food. Sean explains that she cooked strangely on purpose, and he eats it to show her he enjoys it, expecting her to hate him. To his surprise, Susie finds the dirty food surprisingly tasty, leaving Sean shocked. Then Sean tries one of his final tricks. He brings out a cockroach, hoping Susie will be terrified and disgusted. But instead of being scared, she's touched by his honesty and loneliness, realizing that he has no friends and has been so gentle despite growing up alone. Sean is stunned. None of his tricks are working, and Susie only seems to like him even more. That night, Sean complains to his assistant that none of the strategies worked, and now Susie likes him even more. The assistant warns him that human love is deep and cannot be easily manipulated. To make Susie forget Han, the disguise, Sean would need to make her witness the death of that version of him so that she could eventually love his true self. The next morning, Sean tries to stage dramatic scenarios to make Susie fear for the disguised version, including pretending to choke on food and even getting hit by a car. In every case, Susie heroically saves him, remaining unaware that these were all tricks. Sean grows frustrated, realizing that no matter what he does, she keeps caring for him. Finally, Sean plans his most extreme move. He deliberately subjects himself to an electric shock, intending to make Susie think that Han, the disguise, has died. Susie sees him being electrocuted and faints from the shock, overwhelmed by fear. When she regains consciousness at home, Sean's assistant informs her that Han, the disguise, supposedly died. Susie begins to cry uncontrollably, pleading with Sean to fix everything and bring him back. Sean is shocked to see her grief and realizes how deeply she cares for the disguised version. Watching Susie's genuine emotions and her devotion, Sean starts to understand the strength of her love, leaving him stunned and emotional. The next morning, the assistant had breakfast ready, and meanwhile, Sean came downstairs. The assistant saw that Sean had transformed into a new face again. He looked at him and said, "Now she is even more dominating. Looks like a CEO. Aren't you afraid that Miss Susie will see this face and fall in love with you?" Sean asked, "Where is she?" The assistant explained that she had gone to work part-time at a club. Hearing this, Sean started to leave, and the assistant urged, "Lord, please eat something." Sean refused human food and went out. The assistant thought to himself that whenever Susie cooked semolina, Sean would eat it, so maybe he had fallen in love with her. This was not a good sign. Meanwhile, Susie was working at the club. Some boys, after having drinks, tried to flirt and offer her money, but she refused because they were all playboys. However, the money was tempting, so she agreed and sat down to have a drink. At that moment, Shan appeared at the club to make sure she was safe. When she got drunk and stumbled while leaving, Shan caught her to prevent her from falling. She was raising money that was very important to her. Shan picked her up again and brought her straight home. After arriving home, he returned to his real form. Susie, thinking about Han after he got drunk, became upset and started crying. Holding Shan's leg, she pleaded, "Please bring Han back. Fix it." Despite Shan's refusal, she persisted. If she had hugged him, he would have angrily pushed her away. Susie cried, saying that Han would never treat her the way Shan did, so kindly. Shan asked, "Why do you dislike me so much?" She replied, "Yes," and then, with her head down, Shan lifted her and took her to her room. Afterward, Shan went to his assistant and said that the club job was not suitable at all. He instructed the assistant to give Susie his card and invite her to a proper job the next day so she could leave the useless part-time job and get a stable position. The next morning, when Susie woke up, she wondered what kind of dreams she had seen. It seemed it wasn't a dream. Everything had been real. Looking in the mirror, she screamed, realizing she had mistaken Shan for Han and kissed him. She was shocked, wondering how she would face him. When she left the house, she asked the assistant where Shan was. He told her that Shan had gone out. The assistant then gave Susie a card from Mr. Zhao, who had dropped her home and was inviting her to become his assistant at his company. For the first time, she would meet Mr. Zhao. Susie believed it and agreed to try the job. When she reached the company, the manager personally welcomed her, saying, "The boss asked me to take you with me." He showed Susie her workspace and told her not to worry about anything. The other employees noticed the special treatment and whispered amongst themselves. Mr. Shana had come early from abroad, which explained the efficiency. The assistant assured them that Susie was very talented. Some employees came asking Susie for help with designs, but she couldn't provide much assistance. She sat quietly, observing her surroundings. Then Shan appeared and said, "Come with me to the office." In the office, Susie asked, "Mr. Zhao, what do you want me to do? Is there work for me?" Shan replied, "What are your skills?" Susie began listing a few of her talents, but admitted she was unsure if she could meet the company's standards. She thought the assistant was useless. Shan encouraged her, "Yes, you may think you have nothing, but don't give up. Instead of complaining, try to create value so that no one can replace you." Susie reflected on this. Shan added, "Don't worry, I can teach you. Now it's up to you. Do you want to learn or not?" That night, Shan's assistant discussed the plan to train Susie pretending to be Mr. Zhao. The training would help her succeed and eventually break the curse. The assistant handed some books to Shan to deliver personally to Susie for design practice. Susie happily took the books and started practicing. Seeing her dedication, Shan thought she seemed very interested in the work. Susie appreciated Mr. Reese's guidance, finding him both handsome and an excellent teacher. Shan, feeling a mix of pride and jealousy, left abruptly, leaving Susie wondering if he was angry. She decided to focus on her work to impress Mr. Zhao. When Shan's assistant checked in, he asked if the boss had made a good impression on Miss Susie. Shan confirmed that she was happy and seemed to like Mr. Zhao, leaving the assistant surprised. The next day at the company, when Susie arrived, she went to Shan and began showing him her design. The employees noticed this and whispered amongst themselves. However, Shan was angry with Susie and didn't even glance at her work before walking away. The employees were relieved that even the boss had realized the girl's cunning attempts, while Susie sat upset, thinking her drawing must be terrible since the boss hadn't looked at it. Meanwhile, a client arrived at the company to discuss work. It was mentioned that his wife was pregnant and resting at home, so he hadn't brought her along. As soon as he saw Susie, he approached her and whispered, "You must have noticed I'm here. I want you to pretend to be here to work, right?" Susie was furious to see her ex-boyfriend and told him she was minding her own business. The man leaned closer and whispered, "I'm giving you a good chance. I want you to be my mistress. You'll benefit a lot." Susie, enraged, slapped him. Then he complained to the manager, demanding that such an employee be fired. The manager asked Susie to apologize, but she refused. Just then, Shan appeared. The manager yelled at Susie, saying it wasn't her fault, and if she didn't apologize, she could leave. Susie, however, revealed that she had recorded everything her ex had whispered, his shameless offer to take advantage of her if his wife remained pregnant. Everyone was shocked at how bad Mr. Ho was. He shouted, "How could this happen?" But Susie calmly replied that he should worry about his wife and not her. The other employees, taking Susie's side, warned Mr. Ho that any threat against her would result in him being fired. Shan then arrived, kicked Mr. Ho, and told him his behavior was finished. He reminded Ho that all CCTV footage of the harassment had been recorded and that the police would be called immediately. Then Shan turned to Susie and said, "There's no need to thank me. You are my employee and it's my responsibility to take care of everyone." He announced an increase in bonuses, leaving all the employees happy and grateful, thinking how kind Mr. Zhao was. Susie too realized that he was a very good boss. Later, Shan reflected in his office, feeling he had done justice as a boss. Meanwhile, Susie's heart raced as she realized she was starting to like Mr. Zhao. Just then, her best friend arrived, and the two happily caught up. Susie recounted everything that had happened in the past 15 days, the sudden disappearance of a boy named Yan, the landlord's proposals, falling in love with Han, who later died from an electric shock, and now her growing feelings for her boss, Mr. Zhao. Her friend was shocked at how eventful her life had been, and encouraged her to be brave and confess her feelings. Susie agreed. Outside, Shan overheard the conversation and grew angry. He went to his office to inform his assistant that Susie was planning to confess her feelings to Mr. Zhao. The assistant was shocked and warned that some extra measures might be needed. Shan, however, said he didn't want to interfere this time. The assistant reminded him that Miss Susie had started liking Mr. Zhao, and it wasn't due to the curse. Shan realized that if Susie developed feelings on her own, the curse would break and his work would be done. Meanwhile, in the next scene, Susie woke up during the night and went to the washroom. On returning, she accidentally entered Shan's room, thinking her friend had taken the entire blanket. She pulled it over her completely. Shan woke up and was shocked to see her. He quickly pushed her away, trying to control himself, and returned to his room, thinking, "How could I even have such thoughts about her?" The next morning, Shan woke up proud after eating semolina, reflecting on everything that had happened. Susie, shocked to find herself in Shan's bedroom, thought, "How did I even come here?" She feared that if Shan realized she had accidentally entered his room, he wouldn't let her leave. She quickly ran back toward her room. Shan called after her, "Are you really so afraid of me?" and caught up to her. "First, you fell in love with Han, and now you're in love with Mr. Zhao. Why don't you love me? Why do you keep avoiding me even after seeing me?" Susie, flustered, replied that it was because Shan was strange. He asked, "How am I strange?" She said, "Who falls in love with someone after meeting them just once? We're not the same species. Don't you think that's unreasonable?" Shan insisted that her feelings weren't unreasonable and that she had to love him. Susie refused and said firmly that she couldn't. She was in love with Mr. Zhao and ran away. Shan, frustrated, followed, transformed into his other persona and closed the door, thinking that now he had to pull her away from Mr. Zhao. Susie returned to her room, sighing a relief that her life had been saved. Her friend asked her excitedly about confessing her feelings to Mr. Zhao. Just then, Susie received a call from the company. She learned that Mr. Zhao had gone to the factory yesterday and there had been a huge explosion. He hadn't survived. Shocked, she went home, telling her friend she needed the day off because she wasn't well. The manager protested, saying it was the first day with the new boss, but eventually granted her leave. At home, Susie cried, fearing that yet again someone she cared about might disappear. Her friend reminded her that love wasn't always unlucky and tried to console her, but Susie said she didn't want to hear that. It would make her sadder. Later, Susie went to deliver soup to Shan, but the assistant stopped her and told Shan that Susie was very upset, a perfect opportunity to win her heart and break the curse. Using magic, Shan presented her with jewelry and gifts, telling her, "Girls love these things, right? Take them." Susie smiled but refused, saying she couldn't accept such valuable gifts. Shan allowed her to leave, thinking she should have liked it. The next day at the company, Susie noticed Shan flirting with employees and talking to them extensively. She assumed he was Mr. Zhao's younger brother and a playboy sent to ruin the company. Angry, she sat down and said, "Sign this," demanding he do his work. Shan, pretending to be a playboy, felt secretly pleased. He liked that she disliked him. When he approached her, her heart raced, leaving her shocked. After leaving the office, Susie met her friend and told her about her racing heartbeat. Her friend was shocked. How could she be drawn to the same type of man again? Susie admitted she felt something strange in her heart and decided she needed to get checked. Her friend teased her, saying someone was carefully arranging all these events for her. Susie reflected on the series of strange men she had encountered, Han, Mr. Zhao, Lu, and now Shan, and realized the common thread was that they were all very unusual. She resolved to work hard, keep good company, and make her own place in life. At home, Susie continued practicing her designs, and Shan arrived to help her. Holding her hand, he guided her, teaching her patiently. Susie loved watching and learning from him. They spent time together, growing closer. Finally, when Shan decided he was tired, he went to sleep, leaving the assistant to notice that, unexpectedly, his master had begun to fall in love with Susie. The next day, Susie went to the company to get Shan's signature on a contract. After handing it over, Shan signed it, but Susie noticed something odd. She asked him if he had signed using his brother's name, doubting what she had just seen. Shan quickly made an excuse that he had accidentally used his brother's signature. Later, Susie shared this with her friend, and they both discussed how strange everything about Shan seemed. Susie realized that all these unusual events always happened when Shan was around, making her feel that he must be some kind of strange god. She told her friend that every time a boy she liked disappeared, she ended up falling for someone else. First Han, then Lu, but now nothing had happened to him. When she returned home, she found Shan practicing designs with her. She confessed that she didn't fall in love with anyone else except Lu. Shan became furious, scolding her for liking different boys repeatedly while staying calm himself. Susie, realizing her suspicions were correct, felt both relieved and uneasy. The next morning, as Susie prepared to leave for work, she received a call. She feared it might be news about Mr. Zhao disappearing, but the employee informed her that Mr. Lu had run away with another staff member, and the company would have a holiday that day. Susie suspected that these strange events were related to the curse surrounding Shan. As she heard a voice approaching, she hid and watched. Shan revealed his true face in front of her, and Susie exclaimed angrily, "So you're Cien, Han, Zhao, and Lu, all of them? You deceived me with all these identities." She shouted that he had played with her feelings. Shan calmly replied that he could only make amends by offering her company as compensation. Angrily, Susie slapped him and refused the favor. Shan's assistant reminded him that he could have told Susie the truth, but Shan explained that revealing it now would have caused pity, not love. He wanted her to love him freely. Meanwhile, Shan began to feel ill. Susie, distraught, met her friend and explained everything, that all the boys she liked were actually Shan's different identities. Shocked, her friend tried to comfort her, and they went to the club to distract her. But soon, Susie received a call from Shan's assistant urging her to return home because Shan was very ill. After much thought, she went to his side, where the assistant revealed the full truth, that Shan was a god, and a curse required that his bride truly love him in order for it to be broken. Susie, worried, administered medicine and stayed close to Shan, even with his attempts to push her away. They spent the night together, and by morning, thanks to Susie's care, Shan fully recovered. Waking up, they hugged, and Susie confessed that she had fallen in love with Shan's different identities. She loved his true self all along. They went on a date, agreeing to enjoy dating first before thinking about marriage.
They enjoy their date, but there, Shane's condition now back after coming back from it has deteriorated and he's completely ill, is over, and the condition of dying is the same. Happens in, he wants to blame Suji. Looks like he really loved her. No, because if it was true love, then his debt would have been broken. Tell Suji to go. Gives. Suji also tells him that she really loves truly, but not that. Believes. Suji gets upset and goes away. Only then, Shane's assistant is here to tell him the truth. That only comes from loving Shane, his curse will not be broken, but rather he have to die. Curse in exchange for Shane, that's the only way to break that. Bright will have to sacrifice his life, only then he will be fine. Will get, and the assistant tells that actually I didn't tell the guy about this at all. Told, because if I'd told you, it would have meant that you would have died. He for this never agree and he wants to die, but in this way he cannot do bad things to anyone. That's why I hid this thing from them, and now, when I told them, they again did not fake a breakup with you so that you get away from them and you forget them. So, Soju then sees Shane after hearing all this, reaches how bad his condition is. Has gone, here she accepts that she is Shane's. Is ready to sacrifice his life for this, that knife. It is only when she minors herself that Shane suddenly gets well and he quickly comes to him, and then this curse to break these people one more. These people seem to know a way in which have to find mirror. Just looking at that mirror, Suji remembers that once her life Shane has saved before also, and since then he had messed with that monster and he had given him a loan. Now here he is. The curse is finally broken and Shane is free. Goes. Finally then both would be very happy. He and Shane are now ready to gain a lot of powers. After that he goes to fight the monster and beats to death, and then finally swells and Shan both celebrate New Year with everyone are doing, and now both of them also did planning etc. for the wedding is also, and then both of them kiss. With this happy ending of this drama would have